Essentially, the City of Greater Geelong has been involved in formal graffiti management via a strategy since 2001. I've been there since late 2002, so I've got to see it evolve. I've got to see what other places are doing, both here and interstate and even overseas. And we're doing okay, we're coming along. And it is a complex problem, and there is no one-stop shop solution. And I both agree and disagree with lots of people's points of view, and that's probably what makes part of the job so interesting. One of the ways that we choose to deal with our strategy is we focus on three key areas: rapid removal, policing and prevention. And most places tend to have a similar approach. You might call it something different, but essentially we acknowledge that you have to get rid of it quickly. We need to have there needs to be some sort of consequence or level of enforcement that's appropriate, and then prevention. And for me, prevention's the biggest one. Isn't prevention better than cure when we talk about just about anything else on the planet? So why not for graffiti? It doesn't make sense to me that prevention isn't a key part of what most people do. I run a group called the City Aerosol Network, and what that group is about is primarily prevention. What can we do to get the message out there that we need some things to change, whilst acknowledging that aerosol is a legitimate art form? Whether you like it or not, it's an art form, full stop. Art's very interpretive and it's open to opinion. So, that's just the way it is. So we want to acknowledge that aerosol can be a legitimate art form, but we also need to acknowledge the laws of the land. Okay, so graffiti as defined under the Act is illegal, full stop. Graffiti, marking somebody else's property, is illegal, and we all know that. So what CAN sets out to do is go, okay, well, these are the boundaries that we've got to work in. What can we do? So as part of what we do, we have a commitment to getting out in our community and educating them. And to be really honest, we'd been doing it the same way the entire time I've been there, and it was time to look at something new. We sat down and thought, well, why don't we do a DVD? Why a DVD? Okay, let's think about it. So I had a fair bit of feedback saying that, you come to our school every year and you just say the same stuff. I thought, well, that's interesting, so I'll test it. So the next few talks I did things like, who knows that the police can do X, Y, Z, or, who can tell me what one of the consequences is, or who can tell me what graffiti is? And very few hands went up. I just have fun, backwards and forwards, it's all good. We found that somewhere along the way it had gotten pretty stale and we were missing the mark. So we wanted to basically effectively identify and target the graffiti subculture. Once again, doesn't matter if you deny it, it's there. It's like the wind. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. The graffiti subculture exists. And, I might just jump in here. There's two young guys. Oh, one young guy, I don't know how old he is. But Cam and Paul sitting at the table over there, they're actually two of the lead artists that facilitate the CAN network, the City Aerosol Network. And if you want to talk about graffiti subculture, urban culture art, aerosol art, just like the other young fellow that was up here, these guys have an amazing wealth of experience, and I'm a bit loath to share them. However, I'd be more than happy to pass their details on. But you can get some good information. So we sourced the practical stuff. What are people going to listen to? Where's our target? What are we going to look at? So we needed to explain the severity of the consequences, because one of the things that we'd had come back to us is that they don't understand. Most of them, when you go, do you know that the police can actually ask you to empty your pockets and your bag, if you're over 13? Well, no, they can't. Yes, they can. No, they can't. Okay, so clearly we've missed the boat here somewhere. We wanted to make sure that we engaged at least 2 schools, secondary schools within the region in the process. Obviously there's a lot of schools and a lot of community groups and community education providers. You can't get them all. So we threw it out there and we had a little bit of interest back, and then of course once we started we had a lot of interest back. So we juggled that as best we could. The other thing that we then did was engage Victoria Police. We've got a relationship with Department of Corrections as well, local traders, the community education providers, so the local TAFEs, and pretty much anybody else who was remotely interested, just to get a bit of an opinion and a scope and work out what we wanted to do. From there, we identified a funding opportunity, but to be honest, we thought this was such a good idea, we probably would have paid for it ourselves. I can say that now, we've had the money. So we identified the funding, and we were fortunate enough to get it through here. So we identified who out of that massive group that we'd sort of consulted with, who we were going to partner with for this project. We approached a couple of very specific local businesses. We approached Victoria Police. Anybody who's ever done any projects with police knows that they have some of the finest bureaucracy on the planet and systems within systems. So we felt it was really important to get them on board, because we actually wanted to make it a little bit grinding, a little bit hard hitting, and a bit of a reality check for the young people. So to do that, we were obviously going to need access to police cars and police cells and all that sort of thing. So we thought, why not jump in, do the whole thing? So we did. We got them on board as a major partner. And from there, we got the project to kick off, to be initiated. So essentially what the Get Real DVD is about, Justin narrating the story and the scenes of these young crew and what happens to them when they make some of the choices that they make. A key part of the DVD was, though, to talk about the consequences. And it's not so much to hold I can't think of a good expression. It's not so much to hold a hammer over the young people, but it's just to share that, look, these are serious consequences. So once again, whether you love it or hate it or agree with it or don't, this is the law and these are the consequences. You don't get to stand in front of a judge and go, but I don't agree with that bit. This is what's going to happen to you. These are the potential penalties, and this is what it could impact in your life. So, and that's what we did, and that's a big part of the DVD. As I said before, the young people are the drivers. They own it. It's their locations. It's their stories. It really gives them a strong sense of ownership. The businesses that were involved in helping with the locations, that we had just a random ratepayer offer her house and front yard for the scene where the police marched the young fella up to the door. All that sort of stuff. So there was there is quite a sense of ownership. And that's really important, because if you need people to relate to what's beyond what's being said on the screen, they need to have a reason to be watching it. Hey, I hang out there, or I know that guy, or whatever that reason is. It was really important to create that sense of ownership. Secondly, though, anybody who's done any sort of youth work or community safety or community engagement work will be able to tell you that it can sometimes be quite difficult to get into the education system, to get into schools and do your presentations and your talks and all those sorts of things. This is kind of a cheeky way in. Okay, so I know you can't fit me in this term, you said that, but look, have this DVD, and here's, a couple of pages of notes and a bit of information for you guys, and give me a call after you've watched it, and I've had, we only launched it officially a few weeks ago with the Minister. So I have 7 schools booked in for term 3 since the launch day. So, and they were schools that 6 of them are schools that previously said they were too busy. So I like it because it's kind of a sneaky way in. But even if it's not, and even if they don't call me or they go, no thank you, the message is out there. So it's a resource then in their school, in their library, at our customer service centres, at our community centres. It's very easy, and it's a bit different from just the standard, DL size brochure. There you go, that's what we do. I have some of them out there too, if anybody wants them. But I'm tipping the DVDs will go before they do. And I guess the other real benefit is it works really well, as an in-depth education program. So I can get my foot in the door. They can do some pre-work, around what they think graffiti is and all that sort of stuff, and answer some questions. We can come in and do the presentation. We do it in partnership with Victoria Police and Youth Services, because I'm technically not a youth worker, so I don't have a full appreciation and understanding of, was just mentioned before, some of those other issues and barriers that are going on. It's important that we have an opportunity to help them deal with that. So we go in as a sort of a combined team and do an in-depth presentation and watch the video, and it's a conversation starter. So what do you think Justin could have done differently there, or do you reckon he made the right choice and was just a bit of tough luck? It is really helpful in engaging in that way. So the direct benefits, as far as I'm concerned, because we've actually looked at pre-purchasing packages and that sort of thing, and to be honest, we didn't feel like it connected with us, with our community. So for us, it was about what is the best way forward. So I have about 380, 90 surveys back, but I didn't bother sitting down and looking at them all for this. I just grabbed 100, which was part of our grant evaluation, so providing some details and I guess proof and clarification around our obligations. And as you can see, these are surveys filled out by the young people, by the way, not the schools or the police or anybody else. So young people are awesome at being honest. So of course we've got our naysayers down the bottom there, which is fine. But obviously we've had pretty positive results, and we think that we're on the right track with that. And it's refreshed that stale approach that we had, and given us a bit of invigoration and a different way to approach it.